Let me show you one of the earlier guns. This is one of my favourites actually. This has got a great piece of history involved. This is a musket. It's a muzzle-loading musket that the British soldiers used to fight the French back in the early 1800s. It's got a self-contained ramrod, so everything goes down from the front. There were very serious penalties for losing or damaging your ramrod. You imagine that, you've got 20,000 blue-jacketed Frenchmen with bayonets fixed, all hammering down the feet. And the last thing in the world you want is to be able to not use your gun because you lost or damaged your ramrod. So serious penalties. Now you see, this was built in 1842. It is the real McCoy, folks. This is the genuine article, and it's brilliant. But being a smooth bore, in other words, it doesn't have the rifle twist down the barrel like a rifle does, it's a smooth tube. And that's why the market gunners of yesterday would have used guns just like this from the early 1800s right the way through to the 1900s, based on its principle. It's a percussion firing gun, superseded the flintlock, and it works by a nipple going on the, a cap going on the nipple, back to full cock. When you hit the cap with the hammer, it sends a flash of flame straight into the main powder charge, and it's miles faster than the flintlock. It does take ages to load this damn thing, especially for shot for wildfowling, but they were the market gunners, and if you lived on the coast all those years ago, that's where the term surname Fowler actually came from. So if you look in the yellow pages or in the telephone directory, you will find a large number of people with the surname of Fowler. They were the market gunners that used to shoot the ducks, geese, wading birds, seagulls, swans. Oh yes, if you had lots of money, you could get swan, no problem at all. And they were pushed around by 12-year-old boys around pushing barrels piled high with seagulls and all that kind of stuff. And they were shot with a gun just like that. Notice, that's your muzzle loader. Now this bad boy, it's much bigger than the gun we use today. This is an 8-bore. It's got an underlever. You notice there I opened up the barrel with this underlever. Notice also it has the external hammer still. This was built by G.E. Lewis. It's got a tremendously big chamber. It's 4.5 inches long. That's how long your cartridges will be. And it's built by Damascus method of making very strong barrels. G.E. Lewis was actually the best and most highest guarded of the big gun makers. This gun's got an effective range of about 50 to 60 yards. It's a goose gun. Notice also that it's being a breech opener. Back goes the hammer, you're ready to take your shot. But it was only after the invention of the expanding cartridge that we all take for granted today. It was only after the invention of that which sealed the gases in the chamber to stop them coming back in the shooter's face. That is how we got the gun today. So this was built in 1895. Okay, so if you want to be a wildfowler, you've still got lots to learn yet. Right then, Jake, we're going to, if you do go shooting, you've got to have with you a well-trained dog. He's not a real dog, in fact he's a muppet. More like a polar bear. Okay, so right then, Jake, he doesn't know it yet, but he's going to be expecting to retrieve birds as big as that. Let me show you. It's almost as big as he is. This, as we all know, is the Canada goose. Now, the Canada goose does not migrate from Canada every winter like a lot of people think. See yonder over by the main house somewhere over there? It was the likes of them in the late 1700s that actually brought these birds in as ornamental wildfowl, as weird foreign birds so they could show off to their posh friends. Now, that is how we've got the Canada goose in this country today. They're now regarded by the government as absolute pests, and I don't shoot them because they're a pest, I actually shoot them because there's a lot of meat upon his bones. The heaviest bird I ever heard being shot weighed in at just over 20 pounds in weight. Now normally they're 9 to 12 pounds, but that's a particularly large specimen there. He's got to fetch this, you might say, big deal. Let me explain. Apart from being rather bigger than a canvas dummy, or a wood pigeon, or a partridge, it's a heck of a big heavy thing for any dog to lift. So you've got to learn how to kick. So you see, the scene goes a bit like this. So we work in the cutting out, I don't know Yes, I think we are, yeah. Okay, so early in the morning, Michael Fish, the weatherman, said there's a big depression coming in from the northwest. Now, you see, I looked at that weather forecast in this one December morning, and I've noticed this is perfect for getting out after the geese and ducks. So I'll get all my gear ready the night before. I've got a 16-mile journey to set off. My alarm clock will go off at about 3 o'clock in the morning. You lot, sensible people, are fast asleep in your beds, and I'm going to be getting ready with all my gear, and off I go. I'll drive across Bobbin Moor, across Dartmoor, and finally get to a brilliant estuary called the Tor Estuary that comes out of Barnstable, North Devon. Now, when I finally arrive, it's black as a cow's guts, it is perishing freezing cold, and I parked up all on my own, because this is not a sociable sport. You don't go out wild ferrying with loads of mates, it's just you, your gun, and your dog, and a few bits and pieces to make life a little bit easier for you in a very hostile environment. So then, let me explain a bit more. I'll get the chest waders on, I'll get my jacket on, I'll get the silly hat on, I've got a big rucksack, normally weighs in about 50 to 60 pounds in weight. That carries me ammunition, the binoculars, flasks of tea, flasks of soup, all adds to the weight. I've got a big bag of decoys as well, as you see some of these decoys I'll take with me, plus my gun, and I've got a 1.5 mile walk down a disused railway line. It is, well, you've got to be fairly fit, I suppose. Finally, we'll strike out across the marsh, and here we are on the marsh today, folks. It doesn't actually look like this at all, because the top marsh is intersected with big gutters. Some of them are 30 yards across, they're all about 10 to 12 foot deep. It is a dangerous place, because when the tide comes in, the tide fills the gutters, now you're trapped. You can't get back off the marsh until the tide goes out. No big danger there, folks. It always makes me laugh about the number of reported rescues we get with the RNLI. Basically, people get cut off by the tide. They're earning in some tickets. The tide comes in, and then 3 hours later, it's all gone out anyway. So what's your big deal? Okay? So when you read these statistics for the RNLI, they're not really saving lives, they're just making life easy for holiday makers, really. Anyway, okay, so but these gutters do fill, so I've chosen somewhere between a spring tide and a neap tide to get out this morning. So I know that when the tide fills these gutters, it should not, in theory, come up over the surface of this marsh. Remember, it's a vast place. Okay, right then, of course my job now is to see if I can hunter and gather a harvestable surplus of, in this case, ducks or geese. You are allowed to shoot golden plover, but you've got 80 different species of birds which you have to identify, and most of them are actually protected. So if you get caught, you will lose your shotgun license. So you need to know your stuff. When I was a boy at school, I used to be able to know every single bird, not in a lovely light day like this, but in the half-light of early morning, before the sun comes up. So you've got to be good at this. But the ducks and geese, they actually give you a hell of a good clue, because they all make different sounds, so we'll cover that next. Right, this is going to be interesting. I'll stick that back in there and hopefully it'll work. Why don't I take this ridiculous jacket off? There's a good idea. I'll leave the silly hat, that's the important thing. Oh, that is sticking in there, I tell you. Okay. Right, here we got a number of duck calls all tangled up on my lanyard. Right, okay, let's start off with a bird you all of you know. This is a bird, but you guess what it is. That's the feeding call of the mallard. Now the wild duck, you've got the male and the female. The male's called a drake, but he sounds like he's got a very bad cold, like he's got a blocked up nose. Okay, now the warning sound is similar to that, and that's not the whole thing. Scare everything away instead of bringing them to you.